She always believed she had seen enough of the world to never be surprised by anything again. That confidence lasted exactly 13 minutes after she stepped out of Ninoy Aquino International Airport and heard the very first Filipino greeting directed toward her. "Kay na po, ma'am!" She froze, her luggage still rolling behind her like a confused pet. She wasn't sure what shocked her more, the greeting or the fact that the man saying it wasn't holding any food. He was just smiling, a very enthusiastic, very welcoming Filipino smile, like she had been his long-lost cousin who skipped family reunion for 10 years. She blinked. Eat now?" "Yes, ma'am. Kane." "But where? What food?" she asked, genuinely trying to participate. He just laughed, waved his hand like she said something adorable, and walked away. That was her first official Filipino culture shock. Back home in Ukraine, nobody told you to eat unless, 1, there was food in front of you, and 2, they actually wanted to feed you. Here, Filipinos seemed ready to feed you emotionally, even without ingredients. She hadn't even been in Manila 15 minutes, and already she felt like someone's favorite niece. Her name was Anastasia, a beautiful Ukrainian woman with long blonde hair and blue eyes that seemed to catch sunlight like glass. Her friends joked that wherever she traveled, she always looked like she was in a perfume commercial. But today, she felt more like she was the star of a documentary film, where she was about to learn an entirely new species of human kindness. And it was just the beginning. She arrived at her hotel in Makati, tired but excited. The security guard greeted her with the warmest nod she had ever received. "Good afternoon, Po, ma'am." Why was everyone adding Po? And why did the staff call her ma'am every 5 seconds? She checked in at the front desk. The receptionist smiled like she saw a celebrity. "Welcome, Po, ma'am. Do you need help, ma'am? For the Wi-Fi, ma'am? For your bags, ma'am? Anything, Po?" Anastasia raised a hand awkwardly. "Please, you can call me Anna." The receptionist nodded professionally. "Of course, ma'am, Anna Po." Close enough, she thought. She went up to her room and looked out the window. Down below, jeepneys crawled like colorful metal worms. Traffic moved like a confusing dance, and everywhere she looked, she saw smiles. So many smiles. Even people stuck in traffic looked amused instead of angry. She turned on her camera. "Okay," she told herself, flipping her hair dramatically. "Let's see what Filipino habits everyone is telling me about." Her adventure officially began that night, when she wandered into a cozy restaurant, sat down, and asked for a menu. Before she could even finish reading, a waiter suddenly appeared beside her and said, "Ma'am, kain tayo." "Is this a threat or an invitation?" she whispered into her phone's camera. She appreciated the sweetness, though. You could tell Filipinos didn't just say things, they felt them. She ordered adobo and pancit canton, hoping for something mild and simple. Instead, the waiter brought out enough food to feed 6 Ukrainian powerlifters. "Ma'am, enjoy Po," she stared. "Is this for me?" "Yes, Po." "Do you see other people coming?" "No, Po, ma'am." "Then why?" "This. Para po busog." She typed the word in her translator. It meant full. Filipinos refused to let anyone be hungry. Not physically, not emotionally, not spiritually. A stranger feeding her without question. She had never felt so loved by a culture she barely knew. She ate everything, of course. She had to. The waiter kept checking on her every 5 minutes, smiling like a proud grandmother. She discovered that adobo tasted like a warm hug from someone who smelled faintly of vinegar, and pancit tasted like noodles that went to college and learned responsibility. She was full, happy, slightly confused, but ready for more surprises. Her next shock came the following morning. She was walking down the street trying to find a pharmacy when a tricycle driver whistled at her, but not the kind of whistle she was used to. It wasn't flirty or rude. It sounded like a bird trying to gossip. Then she noticed him pointing at something, using his lips. What is happening with his face?" she murmured. He did it again. A full lip point, the famous Filipino psst plus pout combo. She stared at him, unsure if she should call for help or call a doctor. He pointed again with his lips, and this time she followed the invisible trajectory, toward a small sign that said Bodika. She gasped. "Oh, You are telling me direction? He grinned. Yes, po, ma'am. She bowed deeply like she suddenly turned into a polite anime character. Thank you, and please use fingers next time. I was scared. He laughed so hard she thought he would fall off his tricycle. That night, she documented everything in her online journal. Filipino habit number 2. Lip pointing. Confusing, adorable, effective, and mildly terrifying when you first encounter it. But nothing, absolutely nothing prepared her for Filipino photo behavior. She met a group of friendly Filipinas at a mall cafe. They were kind, bubbly, and curious about her. One of them, a girl named Liza, tapped her shoulder gently. Miss, can we take picture? Anna smiled politely. Of course. One picture, no problem. Except it wasn't one picture. It was 12 different poses, 3 phones, 1 tablet, a camera that looked like it belonged to a Tita from 1997, and a selfie stick that grew longer every time she blinked. She didn't expect to do a photo shoot that morning. Her hair wasn't ready. Her soul wasn't ready. Anna, smile. Anna, peace sign. Anna, wacky pose. Anna, heart shape, heart shape. Anna, one more. After 15 minutes of posing like a celebrity at a movie premiere, she looked at the group. Do Filipinos always take pictures everywhere? They nodded proudly. Yes, po. Even with strangers? Yes, po. Even if the lighting is bad? Yes, po. Basta picture. She laughed because it was impossible not to. She felt like these warm, enthusiastic people adopted her for the day. Later, she learned that they shared the photos immediately in a massive messenger group chat called FamBam. Apparently, the group chat had 148 members. She didn't want to ask how many of them saw her face already. That evening, she sat in her hotel room, thinking about all the little Filipino habits she encountered so far. She was exhausted, but in the good way, in the way someone feels after swimming for hours in warm water. The next morning, she was sitting in a small cafe sipping Barako coffee when it happened again. Ma'am, kain tayo? She turned around and saw an elderly Filipino woman smiling at her. The woman opened her lunchbox filled with lumpia and insisted Anna take one. Anna accepted it with both hands, like a sacred treasure. Thank you, po, she said shyly. The woman's face lit up. Ay, marunong na siya. She didn't know what that meant, but she knew it was something good. Walking back to her hotel, a vendor selling fresh mangoes waved to her. Miss, picture? She wasn't even surprised anymore. Okay, she laughed, but only if you smile with me. He grinned like a man who just heard he won a lifetime supply of pancit Canton. In that moment, surrounded by the chaos and sweetness of Filipino life, she realized something that made her chest warm. Filipinos didn't treat her like a foreigner. They treated her like a relative who had just returned home. It didn't matter that she was a beautiful Ukrainian woman with blue eyes and blonde hair. In the eyes of Filipinos, she was simply one more person to welcome, feed, tease, and take pictures with. She returned to her hotel that night thinking about everything she witnessed. Filipinos said, "Come eat," because it meant, "You're welcome here." They pointed with their lips because they trusted you to understand their heart even if you didn't understand their face. They called her ma'am, sis, ate, miss, because it was their way of giving respect without making it heavy. And they took photos of everything because Filipinos loved memories as much as they loved moments. She lay in her bed, smiling softly. She came to the Philippines expecting beaches and food and sunshine. She didn't expect the people to be the most beautiful part. She whispered to herself, "If this is only the beginning, what else will they surprise me with?" She didn't know it yet, but her adventure with Filipino habits was far from over. The next day would bring even more chaos. Linguistic confusion, emotional discoveries, and moments that would make her laugh so hard she'd nearly cry. And that would be the story of tomorrow. The days grew warmer and brighter as she continued living in the Philippines, and with every sunrise, she uncovered new layers of Filipino habits that were funny, confusing, and unexpectedly life-changing. She came to the Philippines thinking she would simply observe the culture like a curious traveler, but she did not expect that every habit she encountered would reshape something inside her. Her friends back home kept asking why she stayed longer than planned. She always answered, "Filipinos are the only people who can confuse you, overwhelm you, love you, feed you, and adopt you before you even understand what is going on." It began with the habit she kept hearing around the house every morning. Ligo na. At first, she thought someone was telling her to hurry before the bathroom line got long, but she soon realized Filipinos weren't pressuring her. They were reminding her lovingly, as if taking a shower was an emotional journey, a self-care ritual, or an event that needed encouragement. She would walk past someone in the hallway and they would casually remind her, "Oh, ligo na." It felt less like hygiene advice and more like motivational coaching. She joked that if she ever wrote a book about the Philippines, she would title it "A Shower Away from Happiness." But as days passed, she understood the deeper meaning. Filipinos say ligo na, not just to be clean, but because being fresh makes you more presentable and respectful to others. It is part of the culture of courtesy. She realized how different it was from the fast-paced, practical mindset back home, where people shower just because they have to. Here, it was almost ceremonial, a symbol of preparing yourself to face the world with positivity. She even caught herself whispering "ligo na" to herself one morning, and was shocked at how natural it felt. Then came another phrase she heard almost every day. "Sige na." She thought it meant, "okay." But she discovered that "sige na" has 1,000 meanings depending on tone. Yes, fine, okay, go, do it, stop it, enough, hurry, wait, calm down, let's go, maybe, later, now, please, and even, I don't know anymore. The first time a Filipino friend told her, "Sige na ah," she froze, unsure if she was being encouraged or scolded. But gradually she learned to decode it like a language of emotions. She learned that the length of "na" indicates urgency, while the tone of "siege" reveals approval or disappointment. She laughed whenever she used it herself because she felt like she unlocked a secret superpower. She also learned the greatness of pasalubong. She assumed it was just a gift or souvenir. But when she experienced it firsthand, when her Filipino friend returned from a 2-hour grocery trip with snacks para sayo, she realized it was something deeper. It was love in plastic bags. It was a sign that someone thought of you even when they were far away. It was the Filipino version of saying, "You matter." She never experienced that back home. People gave gifts on birthdays or holidays, not on random Tuesday afternoons. But in the Philippines, pasalubong was a habit of the heart, an instinct to share joy. And each time she received something as simple as a pack of chicharron or a random keychain, her heart softened. She felt included, thought of, remembered. But nothing confused her more than utang na loob. Filipinos tried to explain it to her many times, but she learned that it cannot be translated. It can only be felt. She learned about it not through explanations, but through small, beautiful acts. A neighbor who lent her an umbrella during a typhoon-like rainfall refused to take it back, insisting she just keep it for next time. A co-worker once paid for her jeepney ride when she forgot her wallet, and when she tried to pay them back, they waved her off. "Huwag na. Next time na lang." She thought they were being casual, but later discovered they meant it. They believed kindness circulates. You don't repay it, you pass it forward. She realized utang na loob was not debt. It was trust, connection, a thread of loyalty that binds people. She admired it deeply because in a world where people often act for personal gain, Filipinos acted out of love and community. She wondered how they grew up with such beautiful values, how a nation so rich in challenges could be even richer in generosity. She noticed another habit she found surprisingly adorable: Filipinos' obsession with rice. She respected rice, of course, but Filipinos worshipped it. She saw people eat rice with everything: egg, fried chicken, fish, hot dog, corned beef, chocolate drink, soup, noodles, and sometimes even fries. She laughed when someone told her, "Rice is life." She thought it was a joke until she saw how serious they were when they said it. Someone once told her that a meal without rice is not a meal. She admired how something so simple brought comfort to so many. Then she discovered karaoke culture. Filipinos didn't just sing, they sang everywhere. At 2 p.m., at 2 a.m. During a birthday, fiesta, graduation, breakup, victory, loss, boredom, or even because someone bought new speakers. She once walked down the street and heard a child singing a Whitney Houston song with vocal control that rivaled professional singers in Europe. She wondered how a country could possess such natural musical talent. She tried singing once and completely embarrassed herself, but instead of laughing at her, Filipinos encouraged her with overwhelming enthusiasm, as if her off-key performance was Grammy-worthy. She learned that singing was not about perfection, it was about connection, joy, and togetherness. Another habit she learned to appreciate was haya. It meant shyness, but also modesty and humility. She admired how Filipinos avoided confrontation, how they softened harsh truths, how they cared deeply about other people's feelings. It made her reflect on her own culture, where directness was common and sometimes mistaken for harshness. Here, people were careful, gentle even, because they believed kindness mattered. She learned to speak softer, smile more, and consider others' hearts before speaking. But nothing surprised her more than the Filipino habit of hospitality. She once visited a stranger's home and was treated like royalty. She was offered food repeatedly, even when the family didn't have much. She was given the comfortable seat, the coldest drink, the nicest plate. She felt overwhelmed by the generosity. In Ukraine, hospitality existed, but not at this level. Here, she felt like she was being welcomed not as a guest, but as family. She realized that in Filipino culture, the heart rules everything. One day, she woke up early and walked outside to buy breakfast. A tricycle driver waved at her and said, "Good morning, ma'am. Where to?" Even when she told him she was just walking, he still smiled as if she just made his day. A sari-sari store owner greeted her warmly and asked, "Kumain ka na?" She thought it was funny how Filipinos kept asking if she had eaten, as if hunger was the world's greatest enemy. She was beginning to understand that food, for Filipinos, was a language, a love letter, a way to say, "I care about you." The deeper she lived in the Philippines, the more she realized these habits weren't just quirks. They were survival tools, ways of protecting joy, ways of creating family even among strangers. Filipinos had learned to find light in every corner of life, even the dark ones. She felt it every day, in the jokes, the smiles, the effortless kindness. She noticed how Filipinos laughed at misfortune. Electricity outage? They laughed. Flood? They laughed. Traffic? They laughed with even more energy. She was stunned. Back home, such moments would cause stress or impatience. But here, people found reasons to smile, as if humor was a shield against life's hardships. The laughter was contagious. She found herself laughing at things she would usually stress about. She realized she was changing. She noticed how Filipinos always said, "sorry," even when it wasn't their fault. Someone bumped into her, and the person said sorry. A waiter didn't hear her order, and the waiter apologized even though the restaurant was noisy. She learned that sorry in the Philippines was not guilt. It was a gesture of respect, a way to keep harmony, a small peace offering. She discovered bahala na. At first, she thought it meant being careless, but she learned it meant trust, faith, the courage to move forward even when uncertain. She admired it deeply. Ukrainians were strong, resilient, and determined. Filipinos were all of those, but with an added layer of acceptance, a willingness to surrender to fate and keep walking. She also loved pakikisama. She saw how Filipinos adjusted for others, avoided conflict, valued group harmony. She appreciated how friends made her feel included, even when she barely understood Tagalog. They slowed down their speech for her, translated jokes, explained idioms, and never made her feel like an outsider. Another habit that made her smile was how Filipinos always said, "take care," and ingat. Even after the smallest interaction, buying from a store, leaving a tricycle, or ending a casual chat, people told her to be careful as if her safety was a national concern. She never felt so looked after in her life. One afternoon, she saw a group of children helping another child carry books home. She asked why they were helping, and they simply answered, "Para hindi siya mahirapan." So she would not have a hard time. So simple. So pure. She wondered how a country with so many struggles could be so emotionally generous. As she observed more, she realized that Filipinos cared deeply about relationships. Family, friends, neighbors, even strangers. She saw how they valued connection more than time. Even when busy, they paused to chat, to smile, to help. She noticed how people shared their stories openly, how vulnerability was not weakness, but warmth. Everything about Filipino culture made her feel lighter, happier, and more connected. She no longer feared misunderstandings or language failures. She embraced the chaos, the laughter, and the warmth. She learned that culture shock wasn't just about confusion, it was about transformation. She realized Filipinos live with their hearts wide open, laughing loudly, loving deeply, giving generously. And she found herself becoming the same.